Damn right.
So, Iron Fist Season 2, this is the latest Netflix Marvel show, and yeah, the first season of Iron Fist, I think we can all agree, wasn't the best. In fact, it's definitely one of the weaker Marvel Netflix shows we've had. Quickly before I talk about Iron Fist, I didn't get a chance to review Luke Cage Season 2, which I actually ever since I started doing YouTube, I've reviewed every single Marvel Netflix show that I've been able to up until now, and up until Luke Cage Season 2, which I didn't review simply because it took me so long to finish that show because it was so inconsistent and slow, and it kind of started off good and then drifted off into like really boring and unfocused and nothing happened episodes where like 10 minutes of the runtime was just dedicated to like people singing in the nightclub, and that would take up like 10 minutes of the runtime, just random shots of the camera moving around people singing in the nightclub, and that was so annoying. And then it kind of had a decent ending. The one big step up in Luke Cage Season 2 was that the filmmaking did get a lot better. Like, there were some really nice long take conversation scenes, the cinematography, the composition, and all of that was much better. And the same can be said with Iron Fist Season 2, because one of the clear improvements from Season 1 is that I feel like they've really nailed the tone, the mood, the visual style of Iron Fist, and they've done a relatively decent job of separating it from the other shows. Now, of course, it does look somewhat similar to Jessica Jones and Daredevil, but I do think that it does have a style of its own to a certain extent. It does sometimes feel like the average show set in New York type thing, but there are one or two scenes where you can really see that pushing the boundaries for TV, especially for the Netflix Marvel stuff, in terms of filmmaking, especially in terms of the visuals and the way the action sequences are filmed. And of course, the action here is pretty great. I mean, the whole point of Iron Fist is that, it is a martial arts based show, and so the action is going to have to be quite good, and here I think it is good. There's nothing here that is quite as mind-blowing as Daredevil. There's no awesome long take sequence. It's not like on the same level of like violence and realism of Daredevil, but it is good. There are a lot of fun sequences that are shot and edited and choreographed really well. There is no use of shaky cam or excessive editing. All the actors are very committed to the physical side of the performance, because it's very rare that they cut away, to a stunt double. And so you can tell that these guys, not only are they committed to the dramatic side of the performance, but also the physical side. And of course, we have to address the biggest change that this series has made. It's the biggest difference from every other Marvel Netflix series, which is the 13 episodes has been, moved down to 10 episodes. And basically, every single Marvel Netflix series has had the same problem, no matter how good or how bad. And that's the 13 episodes are way too long. Daredevil Season 1 would have been a masterpiece, in my opinion, if it had been 10 episodes. The same with Jessica Jones, the same with Daredevil Season 2. Actually, maybe not Daredevil Season 2, because that show, I feel like, because it was telling kind of two separate stories, needed the 13 episodes. But really, my biggest issue with the first season of Iron Fist was that there was so much filler. It was just really excessive. And here they've dialed it down to 10, which is amazing. But because they were going in with 10 episodes, I think they knew that they weren't going to be able to cover as much ground in terms of storytelling and world building and stuff like that. And so they were going to have to tell a much more self-contained story. And it worked, in my opinion. But at the same time, you lose the sense of atmosphere, you lose the world around you. And also, when there are moments of filler, you really feel them. Especially, I think, maybe episodes 3 and 4, nothing happens, and I really felt that. Because if you have a show that's going to be fast-paced and 10 episodes long, you should make the most out of everything, and you should write, the structure of the story to feel like every single minute counts. Whereas here, I still think that they could, with this story, they could have probably dialed it down to about 8 or 9 episodes. But I definitely appreciate the 10 episodes, because not only does it make it easier for us reviewers to watch, but it's just much better, because there's not as much time wasted, both for them as storytellers and for us as people who are trying to absorb the story. But I just appreciate it, and it makes for such a more fast-paced show. But now let's talk about the story itself, because it's decent, okay? It's not anything mind-blowing. Again, I want to put it out there that it's nowhere near as good as the first 2 seasons of Daredevil, or the first season of Jessica Jones, or even the second season of Jessica Jones, which I really like. The story, I think, is alright. It's a very average sort of revenge, redemption type story, and there's nothing mind-blowing to it, but I think that what is good about it are the characters, which I'll get to in a bit. But going back to the story, I think that it works, and in what they're trying to do and what they're trying to convey, I think they succeeded. I am very much looking forward to seeing season 3, and I think season 3 is going to be really awesome. But for season 2, I think they managed to tell a good story with good characters. So let's talk about those characters. So Danny Rand has, I think, a really good arc this season, especially in the latter half of the season. He's played very well by Finn Jones, and I think we're at a point now where Finn Jones really has become Iron Fist. I no longer see him as Loras Tyrell or Finn Jones. He nails the American accent, he nails the fight scenes, and he was really, really good. Also really good was Colleen Wing. She's basically like a second lead now. And, you know, spoiler alert. Actually, I'm just going to do full spoilers here. She becomes another Iron Fist. And I think she is the type of female character that Hollywood needs to be making more. In fact, I would say that one of the best things about this series are the female characters. Because they're not like the invincible, perfect, flawless characters that we see a lot of nowadays. They are flawed. Some of them are emotional wrecks, you know. But it's realistic, and it's well presented, and it's well performed. In fact, like the 3 main female characters, you know, Colleen, Joy, and Mary, they are all so good. And Colleen Wing has such an amazing arc, and I'm so looking forward to seeing where they take her in the next season. The same with Joy. I think that her transition from season 1 to season 2 has been really interesting. She was probably the least interesting to watch in terms of the character, just because she doesn't really do much, but when she does have her moments, especially with Davos, they are really good. But let's talk about Mary. Alice Eve is amazing. One of the better performances I've seen in the Marvel, you know, Netflix universe. I am very, very excited to see where they go next with her character. I think that in terms of the character arc, they did a very good job of showing us all the different sides of her and really making sure that we get a sense of finality and making sure that her character fits with the, you know, the main storyline that they're trying to tell, but also leaving stuff to be anticipated. Now, also, one of the biggest surprises for me was Ward, who I didn't really enjoy in the first season. Now, I think that there's been a massive step up in terms of the characterization as a whole, as I have just said. But with Ward especially, I think that they really nailed it. And Tom Pelphrey, I think, who plays him, did such a great job. And I'm someone who really likes like sarcastic, darker, more dry humor. And I just thought that Ward, the way that Tom Pelphrey delivered some of the lines, I really enjoyed it. And of course, the way they left his story with Danny, I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they do. Now, let's talk about Davos. He's one of the weaker villains we've had in the Marvel Netflix universe. I do like, though, that he is a villain and not, you know, because with Luke Cage Season 2, we didn't really have a clear villain up until the very end. With Jessica Jones Season 2, we didn't have a villain at all. And so it was nice to see them going back to the, you know, like an actual villain. And I did like his motivation. It was very simple, and it was very pure, and it was very understandable. And I think we've all been put in that position. I did feel sometimes that they took it a bit too far in terms of the character. He did sometimes feel a bit just like a man-child who was just like this whiner baby like Anakin Skywalker from episode 2. But overall, he was a good villain. And I always find it interesting when we have a villain who not only is connected to the character, to the main hero, but is a physical equal. I would say that Iron Fist overall, just from episode 1 to episode 10, it is a good show. It is a decent show that you should watch. It's not anything mind-blowing. There have been some major step-ups, and it is much better than season 1. It is much more fast-paced, and it is much more worthy of a watch. And I would say, though, that there are 1 or 2 moments here or there that didn't really matter, didn't really contribute to the story. The story as a whole didn't feel as consequential as some of the other stories we've had told in this universe. But I would say that it is an okay show that is turned really, really good in the last episode, basically, because I really enjoyed the last episode, and I'm very, very excited. If you've seen the show, then you'll know exactly what I mean. I'm very excited to see where they go next. I know people have certain issues with the ending, saying it's a bit cheesy and it feels a bit cheap. I enjoyed it. I think that they took risks with the ending, and it was a bit more ballsy, and it feels less boring. Let's just put it there. Now, in terms of grade, I don't really know what to grade this show, because I gave the first season of Iron Fist a B-. But now that I've come to think about it, it would be like a C+ or a C. So I feel like I should give this show a B-. But I think that in the context of the Marvel Netflix universe, I think I gave Punisher a B-, and I do like this more than the Punisher. So I would probably give Iron Fist Season 2 a B. Yep, so that was my slightly indecisive review on Iron Fist Season 2. I did find some enjoyment in it. Of course, a B is a good grade. And there are some really, really great moments, both in terms of story and characters. But yeah, I enjoyed it. So if you're going to check it out, check it out. But it's not something that you have to get out your way to watch. But thank you anyway, guys, for watching this review. Thank you.